Today, the threats to our peace and prosperity emanate largely from China. To be clear, when I describe the threat from China, I'm speaking of the leaders in Beijing, not the Chinese people who suffer under the oppression and authoritarianism of their own government. The Chinese Communist Party picked up the mantle of communist ideology and has adapted it to our times. Today, the ideology that fueled the Soviet Union is alive and well in China. The CCP views the current free and open liberal economic and democratic world order as a political and ideological threat. It wants to reshape the world in its image, centrally planned and authoritarian, a world in which the Chinese government can pick the winners and losers, where every decision isn't about helping the most people, but instead about helping the Chinese regime. The ideological mindset is important to understand because it drives CCP's actions, including right here in the homeland, threatening our economy, our people, and our way of life. They employ underhanded tactics to destabilize Western nations and further their ends. Instead of competing fairly on a level playing field, China undermines the international system. Instead of fighting on the conventional battlefield, China wages secret disinformation and propaganda wars to cripple us from within. The results they have achieved thus far should concern every American. There is a connection we must all recognize. The Chinese Communist Party's authoritarian ideology and China's maligned actions are intertwined. They share a philosophical premise, the belief that the CCP can ruthlessly pursue its ends regardless of whom it hurts along the way, be it millions of people now at risk of COVID across the globe, or China's own oppressed citizens who cannot start their families, practice their faiths, or speak their minds without the fear of swift and inhumane government retribution. But the ideology is also tied to China's strategic actions against the United States in a practical way. In the truest sense of the word, it is a totalitarian state. The centralization of Chinese political, technological, and economic power, the monopoly on resources and industry, the disregard for human rights and dignity, and their own people's fear of government retributions. These traits together make the Chinese regime a serious threat to the United States and to the entire world. This combination of qualities enables the Chinese Communist Party to undermine the values of liberal democracies, liberty and equality, honesty and transparency. Their government has launched political, economic, and cultural attacks that harm our homeland and our people. And it is high time for us to recognize these attacks for what they are and to respond accordingly.